audio industry. Otherwise, it won't.
All right, so we're going to do this is a little bit different disc before, a little bit more content on the disc system. But any thoughts about why it's so important, why I spend so much time on disc, why I make it such a foundation of my training? Anybody understand why it's important to be experts in diagnosing people and whatever the disc profile is? Any thoughts on why that's so important?
It allows
can
you to
better-
understand. Sorry, go ahead.
No, Chris,
go
you're
ahead,
on
Chris.
there. It allows you to better understand what?
Helps you better understand the person that you're working with, so you can actually figure out how you can sell. Because said people tend
Okay.
to buy things from people that they are more like. So you and I get along because I'm using the same words, I'm using the same gestures, whatever it is. You try to mimic who they are, but also helping you understand, like I said, how to sell to that person.
Perfect answer. Anybody else? Kim, you started to say something, or was it Leah?
I just was gonna say they can better communicate
Yep.
with your,
So
Right.
my point is, I really don't know if you guys are really thinking about that as soon as you meet somebody on the playing field for the first time. Are you trying to diagnose? Are you consciously thinking, okay, who is this person? How do they behave? So like you can do like Chris said, how you can replicate their behavioral styles. The idea is you want them to think about, oh my God, I'm looking at a mirror. This person's just like me, or understanding what behavioral styles they are. So it's important for you to understand DISC all and what it really is and what it's not. So remember, it is understanding the different behavioral styles of using our framework of DISC. It is a personal analysis to identify that individual person. Be thinking about that when you meet with people. It's basically gives you that idea of how to behave with like other people as you're behaving, and it develops that practical action plan to modify your own styles if you need to be. For example, if you're a really high style I, very outgoing, very ambitious, very gregarious style, but you're meeting an S, you might have to tone down your style to modify to fit theirs. So again, I want you to think about a couple of different things. One of the thing, it is not analyzing a person's personality. This is where people get confused. There are 7 different companies that administrate DISC, and you'll see the different ones. There's a extended disc is the one that I subscribe to. There's a D, little with a little I, a bigger S, and a big C. That's a different disc company. The Swedish professors who kind of took this the next step kind of had a falling out about this topic, about whether disc was a personality. And the reason is most people believe a personality is hardwired. It is what it is. It was developed by the time you get to about 7, 8 years of age, and your personality can't change. Where DISC says these are behavioral styles that are common or natural to you, but you can change them. So that's where these Swedish professors kind of broke off into 7 different companies because of this conflict they had about what DISC is. And I subscribe to the notion that you can modify your behavior. Your personality might be the same, but you can modify your behavior. And the reason is I get some people that say, well, I might be a D at work, but at home I'm an S, which can happen. You can behave differently in different situations. It's just that one of them is your natural style, and the other one you're compensating and working hard to be that style. So remember, it doesn't modify people as good or bad or measure your intelligence, and it does not measure your knowledge or skills. And none of these behavioral styles is any better or worse than the other. I don't want to let people say, well, I'd rather be a D, I'd rather be an S. Those are styles that are just behavioral, that are either natural or not natural to you. And this really came in the 20th century, where a lot of behavioral science started following these different theories, and most of it came from Dr. Gustav Jung, who was the original behavioral science that most modern psychology is patterned after his work as far as in behavioral science. And a lot of this stuff actually went back to the 40s and 50s, but it's been refined from the original theories that Dr. Jung had and started adding these tools today to help you improve working with different people, understanding, how prospects react, how your own teammates react. And so I wanted to just have a little bit background that this is really modern stuff, because the last 4 slides of my presentation that I have here, there's like 40 some slides. I moved those to the front to kind of get right to the way, right to what we're doing here. Because how do you motivate different styles to buy? So if you diagnose somebody as a D, to get them to buy, Ds need immediate feedback. Concentrate specifically on the subject and maintain a really results orientated type of presentation to them. Don't frustrate their desire to get something started, or restrict their power, or spend a lot of time on non-essential things. So if any of you ever remember the Dan Aykroyd movie, or even the TV show that was called Dragnet, Joe Friday's character was just a fax man. And these are just get to the point. These are just the type of people that they want to move forward. And if a D, for example, wants to start the process quickly and you can't, don't frustrate it by sitting there, oh, we can't do anything until. Give them a little bit. Oh, we can start some of the process. We can start some of the permitting. Give them something that helps them understand that the project will meet forward. I have a guy.
Wayne,
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say is what you're describing is what I'm gonna deal with today, because I have a client she is a D, who texted me last night that she's ready to move forward on a project and she wants it in 5 weeks. And I wrote a couple texts last night to go back to her. And at the end of the thing, I just said, no, I ain't going to do it because of her personality. She's going to misread this. And I said, I'm just going to call her today. And then feed her the information that's going to tell her, no, we can't do that, but here's what we can do to progress. It's exactly what you just said.
Good.
Because she's a D. And it's really that thought process. Whereas if I just had responded and fired back a text or whatever, because that's how she communicates, she would have misread that. And so let's have the phone conversation, but I'm going to have it in a way understanding how she is.
Okay.
That's a good point.
Give her something. Give her a little bit of something that you can do. Yeah.
I already did.
Good for you.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
So that's why I want you to start understanding how Ds buy and what motivates a D. If you're working with an I style person, remember, be very responsive and listen to them. Remember, I's are that type of person that like their people person. They like being with people. They enjoy interactions. Give them some assurances. Be very optimistic with an I. I's are very optimist, not pessimist, where the C's would be the opposite of it. And when I say if I be with them or her all the time, what I mean is be part of the process with them. Don't have a separate kind of transaction with them where they're on one side and it's adversarial. Be together with them. Couple of things. Remember, when you're meeting with an I's typically, if you're in an office situation, I's typically don't have you sit in the chairs across the desk and they're behind. They don't like that barrier in between. I's sometimes will come around and sit in the 2 chairs with you, or else they've got that small 36-inch round conference table in the corner. They'll try and have a meeting where they're together. Same thing as you don't want to have a barrier between you and them if possible. If you're at an office or a building and it's like a counter in the reception area, try and go to the side of it. Try and not have that separation between you and the person. Don't set unnecessary restrictions on them. Do not put down their enthusiasm or excitement. That's one of the worst things that you can do with an I. Now, I'm a D to an I. When I was talking a while ago about, oh boy, I need to buy a new ATV. It'd be nice out here in the mountains to go up in the mountains and ride a new ATV there's some great trails up there. My wife immediately says, you don't have time to do that. You don't have. She's immediately putting down my enthusiasm. So I'm thinking, okay, what can I, boy, now I'm going to show her. I'm going to go buy a TV. So don't put down their enthusiasm or act negatively to that person when you're trying to sell to an I style person. How to motivate the S. S's, remember, they're calm, they're laid back. The most important thing to S's is, again, security. So give them some organized feedback. Give them support materials for them to look at and to review. Let them finish their work or their sentences. S's are typically the slower talkers. And those of you that are like me, that are used to doing a lot of talking and presentations, we interrupt S's too often because they take so long to get a message across and get their word across. So we interrupt it. And it's one of the worst things you can do with an S. Let them finish their sentences. And remember that's the idea of when you diagnose somebody, when you walk in, you say, okay, gosh, I got this person as an S. I'm going to have to slow down. Let them talk. Don't cut them off. Maintain that continuity with them. And it might be different to your style, especially if you're a D to an I working with an S. Again, don't make a lot of sudden changes. Don't be restless. Don't work against already what is agreed. Remember, S's think about agreements and past proofs and principles, how we agreed that we were going to do this. They want to maintain that same structure. C's, when you're helping to motivate that C, give them a lot of detailed information. Remember, C's want information to review. Be open to their questions. C's are going to ask you a lot of questions because their whole thought is, why are we doing what we do? I need to understand why you want to do it that way. You might not think that it's important to an S to understand, that you're going down over 56 inches to get through the frost level, but they're asking a lot. They might ask that specific, well, why are you going so deep? Why? And if you with a C, you can't say, well, you don't need to know that, or that's something that our installers will deal with. C's want as much information as possible, and they're going to ask you a lot of questions. Don't be offended by it. They're not challenging you, and that's one of the things I had to get used to right away. I'm an I, and I'm thinking, hey, we're just going to do this. It's going to be a good time. We're all going to have fun. And when S's started asking a lot of detailed questions, I used to take it personal. It's like, well, what, don't you trust me? Just understand that they need to have time to think and prepare. Don't keep unnecessary information to yourself. Share as much as you can with them. Don't pressure them for immediate answers. They got to take time to process all this information. And again, you cannot be a hard closer with the C's. C's and S's on the far right side of this diagram, if we look at it there, the further you are to the left, the further you are to the left, the more time it takes you to make a decision. Where D's can make a quick decision. D's can make a very fast decisions, and I's will make a decision without all the information as long as they like and they trust you. So understanding the different styles of people will help you understand how to motivate them to buy. So usually I want you to understand, if any of you took the test recently, or if you haven't, you're looking at what your styles, you're usually a blend of at least two styles. Seldom, matter of fact, less than 4% of the general public is only dominant in one style. Most of the time, over 30 to 40% of the people are either a D to an I to an S to a C to a D. You can go next door. Now, most people are two blends. Some people are three blends, and some people are equally of all four. That's a really good thing if somebody's got, their D styles most dominant, but they're a little bit of I, they have some S, and they also have some C. So when you take the test with the extended disc, which is the big one, it's kind of expensive. It's like $50 to take one test, but they give you a 34-page diagram to explain each one of these areas. So I have my main style is right on the border of C, of D to I. I now got this little quadrant over here. I've got a little bit of an S, and I still don't have any C is natural to my style. But you're usually a combination, and so is your prospect. Your prospect isn't always dominant in just one style. But remember that typically it's a style that is next door. If they're a D, they're either got some C or they have some I. Seldom can you be a D to an S. That's diametrically opposed. They're opposites. The same thing with the I. You can't be an I, 50% I and 50% C. That's just not natural to the style. Doesn't mean that, like right here, if I'm over here on the disc profile on the line between the D and the I, that I can't be a C. It's just a long way for me to travel because it's not natural to my style. So that's all I want you to understand. D style people, I style, S and C, that might be behaviorals that are natural to their style and easy to be that style. Doesn't mean you can't be one or the other. Okay. Elon Musk, for example, he's in the northwest quadrant of the personality map, which means that his DISC style is a D to a C. It's also known as the architect. And Murku, the Swedish professor that put me through the DISC profile and training, he called it, he says, a DC is a person don't care. I don't care what you say. I don't care. And if you think about it, Elon Musk, I don't care. I want everybody back in the office. I don't care. He makes a lot of decisions that make people unhappy. And he's just at that mindset, I don't care. So DCs are, I just don't care about that. These style people typically are very tough. They're very decisive. They're very strong-willed. They're competitive and demanding. They're independent and self-centered. They're under pressure. They show a lack of concern. What I mean by that is sometimes a manager like Brian or Bren might think that somebody, well, this person just doesn't seem to have any sense of urgency. He doesn't seem to care. D-style people, it's not that they don't care. They just don't like to show it. They want to be in control, so they don't want to show that they have any major concern about something. You might sit there, God, you haven't worked, or you're not going to hit your numbers for the month. And you think that the D's don't care. It's just that they are in a situation mindset where they don't want to show that vulnerability. Under pressure, remember, they fear loss of control. So do not hold back a D's desire to control things. For a CEO, I get this asked all the time, what DISC profile is best? Well, almost 80% of CEOs, their dominant style is to be a D, because D's got to be able to make that decision. They've got to be leaders, and they look at the big picture, and when they're making decisions, they don't mind taking risk if they think the payoff is worth it. The reason you want to think that is if you're dealing with a CEO or a leader or the top in a company, if they see that your sign program, your marketing program, what it is going to give them a benefit, they're willing to take some risk, where an S won't. An S is risk adverse. So again, understanding these styles of people will help you understand, as Chris said at the beginning, and Leah, how to communicate with these people and how they make their decisions. D's are very confident. They feel like they were born as that firstborn kind of leader to begin with, and typically in the birth order, D's are the firstborn. Delegation is another strength of some D-style people. With this style, they love to delegate tasks to others as long as they believe that it's going to be done the way they would have done it. What I mean by that is D's like to delegate and have somebody else do their job, but they want to make sure they do it the way they would have done it. So understand when you're dealing with a D, if they delegate something to you, ask them, how would you go about that? How would you do this? That's the best way to deal with a D that gives you a task or an assignment. And again, the D stands for dominant. So again, I wanted you to keep thinking in mind of when you're thinking about these different styles of people, what is their number one word to use to associate with D, and that's dominance. Like all this, a D leadership style can have its limitations. What I mean by that is they're the type of people that they're independent. They extremely focus on their goals, which can make it hard for them to listen to other people because they're so focused on their goals. They sometimes don't take information from other people. So the idea I want you to think about is when you meet with a D as a prospect, D's typically have got an idea on how they think their problem should be solved already. And sometimes they don't listen to new ideas and new suggestions. So just understand that if you're dealing with a D prospect and you've got some ideas that are different from what they thought, they're thinking about they're thinking about a pole sign, and you know that it's only a monument sign would work. In Fort Collins, where I am, they have a ordinance here where there can be no sign over 10 feet. Every sign here is a monument sign. You can drive down the street and be looking for Target and not find it because you got to come right up on it to see it. But so if somebody's thinking about a pole sign and you know that they can't have that, give them time to accept the fact that they might not be able to have the sign that they thought because of code violations or restrictions. Give them some time But again, allow them to make the decision instead of pushing them, because Ds don't like to be pushed. Good thing about a D though, when I like dealing with Ds is, and I hope you guys think about it this way, at least the D can make a decision. S style people frustrate me the most because they give you the TIO. I'd love to think it over. They take forever to think it over. But a D, right or wrong, at least the D will tell me no. So I want you to give me an idea of whether you're diagnosing somebody correctly. Beth's a very positive regional director who can communicate and sell her ideas. She's very ambitious. She wants her region to do well and be the best and largest. She always gets excited about sales, meaning likes to attend different sales training courses to learn. But she tends to create overly optimistic budgets that she thinks she'll be, that that she's going to be unable to attain. And her margins are not usually where they should be. She has a few unproductive salespeople that she's not fired and often procrastinates with other difficult decisions. What's her style? Where would you put her on this profile chart?
I,
I to what?
S,
I to S? Does she have any D in her?
Yes.
She's got a little bit of D, not a lot, but see the D here is she has a few unproductive salespeople that she's not fired and often procrastinates with other difficult decisions. That's not a style natural to a D. A D would probably fire somebody too soon. So she's got maybe a little bit here. Most of it is an I. Does she have any S?
yes,
S's tend to be the style of people that they're over willing to commit to things. S's are the type of people that will, if the boss says to them, hey, you need to do 100,000 and they've never done 50,000 in that region before, an S is willing to say, well, I'll give it a shot, I'll try, instead of holding their ground and using D in them saying, you know what, that's unrealistic. Nobody's ever done that much. Maybe we'll get there in 3 years, but right now we're not. So good style. She's more of a I, little bit of D, not much, but she's in the bottom part. So remember, the higher you start, a C to a D, it's about facts and figures, and I's to S's is about people. So just think about how that goes on the chart. And then when you go to the left, it really takes them a while to make a decision. D's and I's can make a quicker decision. So I'm trying to get you to think about how, when I meet with somebody, how to go ahead and diagnose their style. Generally, the way you should approach a D is, this is your goal. I only need 5 minutes time. What do you want? When do you want to get it ready? Here's a problem that you should resolve. This must be ready by, having that straightforward, get to the point with a D. If you're an I style person and you're dealing with a D, remember your style is one D's. Be clear about time limitations. Be less flexible in adapting because D's can make that quick decision. Avoid interruptions and stay focused with them, and respect their need for independence. But remember, be direct. You're an I, they're a D. You're an S and you're selling to Ds. Concentrate on the what and the when. Act faster. Focus on the issues and provide feedback regularly, but show interest. Remember, S's are the type. D's will say something like, a prospect will say, this sounds really good. Yeah, I think we'll go with you. And the S would say, some salesperson will say, well, I don't want you to make a quick decision. Why don't you sleep on it? Why don't you think about it? Because remember, they're direct opposites. So S-style salespeople are a little bit more cautious, if you will. We don't have to make a quick decision. Let's sleep on it. And D's are ready to go. If you're a C and you're selling to D, stress those short-term goals. Again, be direct and task-oriented. And make sure that you start and you don't do a lot of theories. Give them immediate, examples of what it is that you're trying to accomplish for them from past clients that you've worked with. And don't take their directness personally. Remember, D's also are usually visual people. They see the big picture. They want to see things in pictures. So again, D's are usually visual style people. You can show them a lot of examples of your work. I style people. Remember, I's are really that fun-loving, let's have a good time. They're very social. They're very talkative and open, enthusiastic. They're very energetic and they're very persuasive. Typically, we tend to hire salespeople that are I's because we think they're very persuasive. But under pressure, they do look disorganized and they fear social rejections. So remember, think about the classic patterns of an I. They're a promoter, they're a persuader, they're a counselor, they're an appraiser style person. But again, the I style, and 33% of the US population is their dominant style is an I. 14% are D's dominant style. 33% I's, 23% S's, and the rest C's. So the I styles, again, I's tend to have goals such as these, that they want to attain victory with flair. They want to pursue friendships and happiness. They want to achieve status through authority and prestige. They seek approval, and they want to be popular and generate excitement. Those are generally the behavioral styles of the I, that they have goals like that. I challenges, they need to sometimes you think about expending more energy with them. They like to get organized because they typically aren't to start with. So they have to work at getting organized. They do some research and some facts. They do try and resist impulses. They need to because that's a challenge they have. Sometimes they don't speak directly and candidly because remember, they don't want to hurt your feelings. They want everybody to like you. I style people tend to also have, when we talked about the human relations grid scores, they tend to be more the adaptive child. What I mean by that is they tend to be, I don't want to rock the boat. I don't want to upset this person. I want everybody to like me. So sometimes it's very hard for an I to speak directly and candidly. They can't stay focused for long periods of times. The I style person is kind of like shiny objects where they change it in the middle of a conversation about one solution to the problem. They immediately switch to another, and they do have issues following through completely. So those are some of the challenges of I style people. As far as an I style in leadership, they love to take in new ideas and run with them, and they make them their own. If somebody from the team brings them an idea, somehow they turn it around and it becomes their idea that they came up with it. They often display leadership characteristics that are very energized, very pioneering, better kind of affirming. I style bosses, again, they don't stay with some things for a long time. You might sit there and say, I would say, okay, we're going to switch. I know we just did Microsoft Dynamics CRM system, but we're going to switch stack. And you think, well, we just did the other program 3 months ago. We didn't give it a full time. They are quick to make changes. Murku told me this. He said the average D person is moved over 17 times in their life. So they're not the type of people who are used to sitting, planting their feet. They're used to moving quickly and making changes. So think about that when you're meeting with a D and you're making a change to something that isn't the status quo. They're okay with it. Where the S is going to have a hard time changing. Generally, the way you should approach an I, you just basically say, hey, I want to hear your opinion. Could we exchange our views on this? Could we speak about some of the new alternatives? Could we meet and discuss this? Remember, I style people, they want to meet. So if you call an I style person or have they call you and they say, well, why don't we do this? Why don't we meet for lunch? And you're thinking, oh God, I'm too busy. I can't meet for lunch. And you say, oh no, I don't have time for lunch. Why don't we just meet at 1:30? You just rejected them socially. Remember, they like to have meetings in a social environment. So in case you can't have lunch, if you really are too busy, suggest, hey, lunch might be difficult. How about coffee? Still make it a social environment for that I style person. That's how they want to meet with you. If you're a D and you're dealing with an I, again, be optimistic about how we do things. Somebody start to say something? Okay, thought I heard a name. So again, think about your style's a D, but I'm dealing with an I. Where do you have to adapt and where do you have to change? So seek out their opinion, ask what it is that they might want to do instead of just trying to tell them. Remember, the D in you just wants to get to the point, and the I wants to make it a social interaction. If you're an S and you're dealing with an I, speed it up, speak faster, get going. Remember, your style might be a little bit slower, and that I style person wants to get moving. So I'll, be a little bit quicker in your delivery with them. If you're a C and you're dealing with the I, remember, concentrate on the who, what kind of thing. I's want to know who's going to do it. Talk about who's going to be involved in the process. Be open to the discussion. Don't lose contact with them. C's tend to get overly start showing statistics, facts, and figures, where the I is making it a decision based on the people. So don't focus on mistakes that they made in the past. Like, oh God, who put this sign up? How did you do that? Focus on that I style person and wanting to be together and make a decision because they like you. D's will make a decision because of, they have to make a quick decision and they think it's a solution that they have come up with. I's make a decision based on it's a gut feeling. I think I like this person. I like and trust this person. S makes a decision based on agreements, past proofs, principles, and C's make a decision based on all the facts and figures. So think about how people make a decision that's natural to their style. S style people, again, remember they're calm, they're steady, they're careful, they're patient, they're laid back. They're very good listeners. One of the things that I forget sometimes, S style people, they do want to take in a lot of information. And I'm an I to a D, so I'm thinking I'm looking for sales signals, buying signals, and S's don't give them to you. And what happens is we think, oh, they're really they didn't get it. We push the message across. The S's are getting it. They just don't give you immediate feedback because they're the best listeners. So when you think that this person isn't listening to me, they're not reacting, I'm not getting buying signals, think about their style. If it's an S, that's okay. If it's in a D and they're not giving you buying signals, yeah, you've missed the point with them. But a D will usually let you know. So again, we want to stress that you really understand S style people. They're very modest typically to begin with, but they are trustworthy. If you're dealing with an S style client already, you've already done work with them, and they're bringing you a new project. And if an S says to you, well, you're really going to have to sharpen your pencil. You're really going to have to get creative with this one because we're going to bid this out. I'm also, I know you did a good job on our sign last time, but we're going to look at other opportunities. No, they're not. That's a ploy. That's a gambit. S style people don't want to have to go through building a relationship with somebody else. They are the most loyal of all clients is the S style person. So keep that in mind in negotiating and dealing with an S style. They're not going to go somewhere else because they spent all this time building a relationship and trust in you. Again, under pressure, I said earlier, they're too willing to do things, to go ahead and do work or take on tasks that somebody else wouldn't, or commit to goals than any other people. They do fear loss of stability, security, that whole sense of, hey, we agreed to do this. You said you'd do this by this time. That's what they fear, is that they're going to lose control or sort of stability or security. Again, the S is very reliant, dependable. They're patient, they're good listeners. They want to work in teams, and they're the type of people who need to work in a group environment sometimes. They strive for consensus among the group. One of the biggest problems they have is they expect, like, let's have a committee of 3, they think everybody's going to be unanimous in the decision. And they struggle with that, where a D will say, okay, 2 out of 3, I'm on the 2, we're going to do this. Where an S would be, I got to convince everybody to participate. I want everybody on the team to make this decision. They like to finish one project before moving on to another. As I said before, they're also loyal, and they have to feel secure and have a good relationship with people to move forward. But remember, sudden change or fear of security is the thing that they worry about the most. Now, communicating with an S. We've already done the D, how to communicate with them. We've talked about the I. Now we're talking about the S. Generally, the way you approach somebody with an S, how should we proceed? We should act like this. First this, then that. How do you think we should do this? I want you to be involved in the planning from the beginning. Remember, they want that team effort. They want you guys to be working together. If you're a D and you're dealing with an S, focus on the how. We're doing such and such. Provide time to consider issues from their angle. Be very less demanding. Remember, that's natural to your style. State both sides of an issue. S-style people were typically middle-born. They are usually the referee because they want to hear both sides of the story. That's just natural. They heard it from the older sibling. They heard it from the left. So make sure you give them time to see both sides of an issue. Warn them about any changes that might happen as you go through the process. Talk to them about change orders. Talk to them about things that you guys might have to change if materials aren't available. They hate that change down the road, but don't pressure them too fast or push them to make a decision. They will rebel about that. If you're an I in dealing with this, demonstrate that reliability and the continuity of the issue, speak about the negative aspects, provide enough background information. See, what happens to an I, we're very outgoing. We think it's a solution. We got this great idea. We just want to take this great idea to them and hey, let's start moving forward. Let's be happy. And we don't share with them any of the negative connotations that might happen or any of the negative problems. S's want to hear both sides of it. They want to hear what could be some of the challenges. They want to hear that, hey, we might run into supply chain issues. They don't want to be surprised later on. Nobody does, but S's are really, if you tell them that these things might happen in advance, you tell them the negative side of it, they're more trustworthy. Because remember, people buy from people they like and they trust. And people trust people that tend to tell them the truth and let them see both sides of an issue and what some of the negative assets might be. But again, listen to them, don't interrupt, give them time to complete their sentences or to complete a thought. Again, this is one of my challenges myself. If anybody else has this, that gap in communication, somebody says something and you ask them a question and there's a couple seconds of pause. The S-style people are comfortable. They're taking time to think about it. Don't rush in and add more, thinking that, oh, they didn't get it, so they haven't thought. They need time to process the information too. If you're a C, explain things step by step. Okay, use practical examples. Avoid using numbers only, though. Remember, C-style people like to use statistics and numbers, where S-style people want to have time to analyze the information that you're giving them. But also they want to understand the risk factors that we said before, but consider their opinions and ask them a lot of questions. C's tend to want to lead only with facts and figures and statistics and numbers, and they think that numbers will convince people. S-style people need time, talk about it. If you present something in a numbers format, ask them their opinion, what they think about that. C-style people, remember, they're very precise. They follow rules. They're very logical and careful. They're formal and disciplined. Under pressure, they're overly critical of themselves, I should add. They can't believe that they made a mistake. Remember, they're so detail oriented that if they make a mistake, they beat themselves up over about, oh, I can't believe I made that mistake. What they fear, though, is you criticizing them. They will criticize their own work, but they hate it when somebody else criticizes them. So again, a C-style person, when you're meeting with them, the worst thing you can do to them is criticize their last sign or who did this or why did they make that decision or how did you go about, why did you spend money for that instead of this, or who chose those colors, why did you pick that? Don't criticize their past decisions. Okay, again, C stands for compliant, correct, conscientious. I want you to think about it that way. They're precise. They like to have a plan before starting something new. They like to have and usually written out. They measure desire based on whether it meets the rules and regulations that they have. When you walk into an S-style person's office, many times you'll see their compliant manuals in the desk right behind them on a bookshelf. They have a lot of support materials that are written to support their decisions or regulations and while they follow a precise way of doing something. Again, they fear criticism or being corrected by others. So I will send you this so that nobody has to worry about taking notes. You'll get this PowerPoint so you can refer back to it. The one that I want you to refer back to is when I go through each one of these styles and we start talking about what you are and how you should relate to somebody. So in each one of these categories, there are 4 slides on if you're a D, how to deal with an S, if you're an I, how to deal with them. So I want you to go back to those slides and really think about what style you are dealing with each one of these people. What style you are isn't of importance to me. You don't need to send me your test scores or anything like that. It's important that you know what style is behaviors to you, what is natural. so you can decide how to work with somebody. So again, generally the way you approach a C style person is, I'd like to provide you with some additional information, like what you hear your assessment is, what are the pros and cons of different alternatives? Could you listen to these different key issues that we need to talk about? Have that precise conversation with them. If you're a D and you're dealing with a C, answer questions carefully and give reasons. Respect their expertise and be less commanding. What I mean by that is, in your world, yes, you guys are the sign experts. You know more than they do. But a C's going to want to be like, I know more. I've done my research. I understand these things. And respect that they think they have a level of expertise in that area. Don't make yourself threatening to them. Listen and encourage conversations and discussions, but do offer a lot of alternatives to C's. Remember, they're going to analyze the different ways of doing anything. So they're the analytical group of the 4. If you're an I, concentrate on what questions. Remember, you're the direct opposite of a C. Prepare, slow down, think before you act. Remember, I's are just trying to be persuasive. We just present it. Hey, this will be a great idea. You should do this. But slow down and think before you start pushing an idea out there. Be open to their questions. All right. Provide as much information as you can in writing sometimes to the C. Remember, they're the type of people that want to analyze it, and sometimes in writing is what they need to see. But be sincere and honest with them. Don't think that your gregarious personality is going to win them over. Remember, it's all about the facts with the C. If you're an S-style person you're dealing with C, provide background information, respect their technical expertise and their attitude on things, understand their need to be independent, provide all that relevant information, but provide basically based on feedback that is fact-based. So it's not that whole much difference than an I, because you're close to being a C. Remember, S's and C's are close together to being similar. It's about the wanting that information. So last thing we talk about here is Matt's shy and quiet, a very decisive regional director who values fair ideas and a polite supervisor. He's successful, but he doesn't like to sell his own ideas and thoughts to others. He's happiest when he can manage his region on his own, although he needs support with change. Matt enjoys the challenges his job provides. What's Matt's dominant style?
C.
What do you think? Anybody else?
S.
You were both right. He's a C to an S. Remember, usually a combination of 2. So he's a C to an S. Remember, but the word here, he's got some D in him because it says the first sentence. He's a very decisive regional director who values affairs. So he's going to be on this up here in the upper quadrant. He's going to be a C to a D with S in him. Doesn't have anything here that shows that he's really the style is to be an I. Okay. John keeps trying to join. Were you able to join?
Yeah, I can hear Brian's. It just keeps my video keeps dumping out.
Oh, okay. I just wonder why you keep jumping in. It must be kicking you out
Yeah.
or something like that. All right. Mary is a successful doctor. She's very precise, patient, and logical. She's good with details and communicate them clearly and exactly. She does avoid people in conflict situations. Therefore, she doesn't state her opinions. She functions best in small groups or alone. She's advancing well in her career and is among the top experts in her field. What's her dominant style?
C.
Yeah, precise, patient, logical. She's good with details and communicate them. Yeah, and she doesn't have a lot of I. She avoids conflict with people. So yeah, she's a very high C with maybe only a little bit of an S. So she'd be really close to the, when you store in the chart here, she'd be way out to almost to the tip here in the corner. Okay. Jake's a physical therapist. He's good with his hands. He likes his job. He develops his professional skills by attending seminars. He's organized, sensitive, emotional, focusing on taking care of details. He's very family oriented and spends a lot of time with his parents. He's somewhat inflexible and does not like taking risks or changes in plans, but he does like social activities. What's his style?
S.
S, yep. S with a little bit of I, that's social active. But yeah, he doesn't like change. He's family oriented. So that's what you're starting to get it. You're starting to figure out how to diagnose. Now, I think you all probably know enough about DISC that you can diagnose. Where I think most people I train miss is they don't go in to their meetings thinking first thing is in the bonding rapport, who is this person? What's their behavioral style? And so that I can diagnose them. And that's what I hope I can get across to you is that each time you're meeting with somebody on the playing field, you're trying to think about identifying their styles and what is mine so that I can be most like that person. So this slide is one of my favorite slides to end with. Again, D's are about change and results. And as you start coming down, it's more about influence and activity. And then you come down the chart, you're a people and positive, and you start to move over, you're helpful and friendly. And then the S's are thoughtful and patient. And then we start moving toward the C, so start becoming more precise and following standards. And then the high C's are fact and correctness. So again, if you're a C to a D, it's more about facts and change. S's to I's, it's more about people. So start thinking. Now, Sam is the kind of boss, I've said this before. Sam is the kind of boss, he's a D, but he wants to be an I. So what happens with Sam, he's the kind of boss that would be, you're very demanding, but then at the same time, he wants to have a good time. So he confuses employees. With this kind of a person in my training, he'll say to everybody, hey, okay, we're going to do this training every Tuesday. We're at 8 o'clock. We're going to have training. And then somebody comes and says, boy, you know what? I got a networking event I need to attend. Do I have to go? Okay, no, you don't have to go. Because he wants to make everybody happy. That kind of boss struggles sometimes with people. A C trying to be an I, anytime you have to go through this circle, it's really, really difficult. So if you're over, let's say a D to an I, and you need to deal with a client who is an S, just realize you got to go through the two. And every time you go through this circle, there's a little resistance because it's not natural to your style. Doesn't mean you can't come from being a D and working with somebody as S. It's just that you have to take some time to think about it. So what I hope you got out of today's session is that I'm really starting to diagnose people when I first meet with them, what their style is. At the beginning, when you don't know what somebody is, treat everybody like an S, because an S is the type of person who's more forgiving and will let you go to different directions. Obviously, you don't want to start treating everybody like a D, but a D's will tell you who they are right away. So treat everybody like an S until you diagnose what their style is. But I think in your mind, and if you're not even writing it down, as soon as you start meeting with somebody, start writing down what you think their dominant style is. Probably after a couple of minutes, you'll have another one and you'll say, okay, I diagnose this person as an S, but they have a little C in them, or I diagnose this person as a D and they have a little I, so that you start thinking about how should I react and deal with this person. If you treat everybody the same, like your style, you will miss bonding with people because you didn't adapt to their style. All right, questions, comments?
I'd like to know what Brian thinks each of our discs are.
Not gonna fall into that trap in a million years.
No pressure, Brian.
No, one-on-one, I'll answer that.
That's
So
probably
John will
good.
get that as soon as I hang up.
Yeah, I'll take notes. I'll send out an email later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good way to answer that, Brian. Yeah, and doing it in a group sometimes it's not a really good idea. But if you
No,
guys, yeah, if you guys have a thought about what, you know, again, what style of somebody isn't important. I sometimes when people take these tests or we start talking about it, they start thinking about, oh, I'm a D and I should be an I, and they start trying to overcompensate within the team themselves. It's not as important as to what you are. What's more important is that you diagnose what somebody else is so that you can work within their behavioral style. You need to know who you are and what's natural to your style so that you can then diagnose what somebody else is so that you can adapt. Don't try and get them to change to your style. You're the one that has to change to their style. So I do this once in a while when I forget this stuff, that throughout the day, like if I leave today and I go out and get a cup of coffee, I will try and diagnose people that I run into and interact throughout the whole day. Like yesterday when I went to the Quick Trip here, 2 people at the register. The one person was like very outgoing. How everybody, hey, how you doing? Good to see you. Wasn't it great weather out there? And the other person was a C, very precise. Here's your change, and was counting it back. Some people just hand you the change because the machine already tells you how much change is. This person was counting every penny back out to everybody. So I'm looking, okay, there's an I, there's a C. The D is in line behind me. He's being impatient. I could just feel him breathing on my neck. He can't wait to get there. He's like, why are you taking so much time? So throughout, even in the store, I was diagnosed people. Start doing that. Start seeing throughout the day today the different people you interact with and start diagnosing them and putting them into categories just as a way to practice behavior. As a matter of fact, when I was going through for 2 weeks being a disc profiler in Houston, one of the things they did is they sent us out with a clipboard basically, and we had to go out into the courtyard down there where there was people milling from the office center and just start diagnosing different people. We took about an hour, and then we had to come back, and we started matching because, well, the lady in the blue suit, she was this, and the whole group of people started matching whether we all diagnosed somebody the same. But that whole hour of trying to diagnose people just as they were walking, I started thinking, how do you do this? And they go, well, remember, the D's are going to walk in a manner where, by God, you see me, you should get out of my way. The I's are going to be walking with somebody. They're going to be looking at people. They're going to get their head up. They're going to be interacting. The S is going to be a little bit more calm. They're going to be very laid back. They're going to be making sure they don't walk into somebody. And the C's are the type of people, they're going to, don't walk, don't run. They're going to be following any type of pedestrian rules that were out there. They're following the line with everybody. So it was kind of interesting to start seeing even how people walked. You could diagnose their different styles. So that's your assignment. I want you guys to start today really going out there and practicing and diagnosing different styles of people so that you do it so well that when you go meet with somebody on the playing field for the first time, you're thinking about who is this person, how do they process information, and how can I behave in a manner that's going to be the type that they're going to respect and want to buy from me because I'm acting in the behavior that is best for them. Okay? Brian, anything to conclude?
No, I think it's always a good reminder. I think it's a lot. What you just went through is a lot. And I think if you have to almost go back to the slide presentation and really go through it slowly. But what I was doing as you were talking is envisioning people that I've met over the last whatever. I'm thinking of Jim yesterday when I was with Patrick, and how he was very reserved, and Missy last week when I was with Troy. So I'm doing that exercise in my head. And again, I think the key is, and you said during the bonding and rapport and upfront contract, we got to slow down to allow this process to develop so we understand what we're talking to. And I think that's a challenge in itself sometimes for us, me included, that you just got to sort of work the process and the techniques we're doing, and then be reading that individual so you come across conveying your information in the right form. And the last thing I'll say, which I think is we didn't really touch on, I think tonality is very important in helping to identify people as well, and how they talk to you and their tone. They might be edgy, they might be soft, I think that sort of helps that as well, and listening for that. Would you agree with that, Wayne?
Oh, definitely, yeah. Yeah, the
Yeah.
S's are going to be a little bit calmer with their tone, their
Yep.
speech pattern. When we talk about communication wheels, remember tone, words, and body language. Well, many times you
Right.
can't read the body language because you're on the phone. So
Right.
reading their tone is very important, and matching their tone and the words. So again, let's reinforce this. The best way to bond with somebody is use the same words that they use.
Right.
So when they say, come on in, show me what you have, you say, great, wait till you see it. Wait till I show it to you. Don't do a
Right.
cross communication where, come on in, I can't wait to see this. Oh, wait till I tell you. Wait till you hear about it. Use the same verbs because it's very subliminal where that person's thinking, oh, this person's just like me, because you use the same words. And as Brian said, match their tone.
Yep.
Again, I'm a fast talker. I'm used to trying to do training, imparting a lot of information quickly. And when I'm with that S, you're right, Brian, I got to really slow down sometimes. And I got to concentrate on it. And I remember at the beginning, I'll slow down and then I catch myself just like I just did there. I'll slow down and all of a sudden I'm going right back up there.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So good
So
stuff.
people buy from people they like and they trust. People like and trust people like themselves. Nobody's argued with that statement with me in all the years I've been doing training. Yet most salespeople do nothing to sharpen their axe to get better at that bond and rapport. That's what this exercise was, is to help you get better at matching and mirroring people. Okay. All right,
Stuff.
thanks.
Thanks, Wayne. Have a
All
great
right.
day.
Be careful out
Bye.
there.
Yeah, thanks.
Right.